You're listening to the Ecosystem Approach show. I'm Jason.
And I'm Patricia.
We discovered that human potential is severely limited when you program humans like a machine, which is standard practice today for self-improvement.
The Ecosystem Approach teaches you how to uncover your infinite potential by using natural methods that are truly revolutionary. Join us now for the Ecosystem Approach show. You have been brainwashed in ways that are invisible to you. The reason this brainwashing is important, it keeps you from your free will and accessing all your potential. Another reason, human beings have a natural source of wisdom, clarity, and perspective that has been blocked, dulled, and suppressed by being brainwashed. In this show, we'll talk about how to restore this internal source of wisdom. By the way, I love that. And clarity, so that the normal attempts to brainwash you and control your thoughts cannot work. Jason, what is the purpose of brainwashing?
Well, it's psychological manipulation designed to alter a person's sense of reality. That's just a basic definition.
Okay. Well,
As we look at how brainwashing works, however, you can see that in some situations in your life, are you brainwashed? So I'm going to challenge you for the rest of the show.
Yeah.
Start thinking.
That's a good one. Yes. Yes.
Once you understand how brainwashing works, can you see some situations in your life where you've been brainwashed?
Well, then let me ask the question.
Okay.
Why is it important to know how brainwashing works?
It's one way to be able to know. Let me see if I can say this. It's to be able to know how you're brainwashed. You have to know some of the conditions that have to be set up. Okay.
Okay.
So
sure.
Isolation is one of them. Controlling the information. Weakening yourself physically and mentally with stress,
excess
drama,
work, things like that. Okay.
Repetition, repeating information over and over again.
Yes. Well, that's like advertising and
families do that.
Yes,
they say the same things over and over again.
Yes.
Threats and rewards, control and punishment, gaslighting and manipulating. Now, if this sounds like a relationship that you've ever had, or maybe you're in a relationship right now that sounds like this.
Right.
It's a form of, the control, the threats, the rewards.
Yes. Yes.
We've seen so many relationships that we've helped people with that are just like that.
Well, one of the things that I'm going to use an example here.
Okay.
And this is a form of gaslighting. My mother, everyone who's even heard the show before, but my mother, I was not her favorite child, and I'm being very nice about that at the moment. And she would make promises, and then after a while, I knew that there was always going to be a catch. But one time, my sister needed this, didn't need it, but she conned my mother into buying her this dress for this special, I think it was some sort of party that she was going to. She was older than I was, but my mother, this one thing she did was if she bought my sister something, she also bought me something. Well, we got the same thing. And of course, because I was smaller and shorter, mine had to be hemmed. And so we did all the things that you do to hem a dress. I stood there, she measured all those things. And then when I put it back on after she was finished with it, it was way too short. By the way, I'm going to tell the age here. This was way before the mini skirt. Anyway, and she turned on me and made this my fault. I must have done something. I must have done something to make her look bad.
So that's first of all, when you're in a family, you're isolated.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, so
Good.
she didn't do this in public.
Never.
She did it in front of you. And was it your sister there?
No. It was it was my grandmother was there, and then my grandmother said to my mother, "No, you did." She pointed right at my mother and she said, "You did the whole thing. Patty never touched this
And
at all.
and so that's a form of gaslighting also.
Yes.
It was a
yes.
manipulation.
Well,
She felt bad, so she was gonna turn it on you.
Exactly. Well, and I would say you said in just a minute ago, you said it was threats and rewards. She turned it around. She gave me a reward first, and then she was using threats, so to speak. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to do this. And this was not uncommon for my mother.
So just think about that. It's growing up brainwashed that there must be something wrong with me because my mother my sister can never do anything wrong.
Never.
And and you were doing everything wrong. And it's funny now because I can see the comparison as an adult.
Yes.
There is no comparison. Patricia just can do rings around her sister in terms of intellect, in terms of charm, in terms of
thank you, dear.
Physical abilities,
Wait, is this a manipulation?
Well, probably,
Yes, but and what's interesting is I used to tell myself, but wait a minute, I was the one who did that, but she got the credit for it. I'm talking about my sister, things like that. And it really made me doubt myself in who I was.
I've seen this. There's been so many examples of this because it's when one person in a family is treated differently than another.
Oh,
it creates all sorts of trauma. And it's a form of brainwashing. And we're going to talk about other forms.
So, well, let's talk about. I have a question. What factors make someone susceptible to being brainwashed?
Oh, this is a biggie. Okay,
yes,
this is a huge emotional vulnerability and having emotional needs that have not been met in normal ways.
And that's exactly what we were talking about a few minutes ago.
So you had an emotional need to be accepted, to be part of the family.
Of course I did.
And right now, so all the stories that you've told me, you were isolated.
Yes.
You were put in a special category that was not positive.
Not at all.
That was very negative.
Yeah.
And you didn't have any other feedback loops around to say to you, hey, what's happening in your family isn't right.
Yeah.
So you didn't know any different as a child.
Until my grandmother came along, and she came to live with us right before I turned 5. And I was so happy that she was at my 5th birthday party. And this was my mother's mother, but this woman was remarkable. And she would see what was going on. She knew she couldn't fight her daughter. So what she would do is she would reach into the crowd or wherever I was, and she'd just tug me by the shoulder, nice and easy, or pull me by the arm, and she'd say, "Come on, here, let's do this instead." And it was incredible because if it hadn't been for her, I don't know that I would have been the person that I am today.
Well, but the point is of this show,
right,
is that we've been working on the brainwashing that you've had
since you've known me.
Yes, and that's been 25 years.
Yes.
So it's
thank you.
Those brainwashing like that, whether it's you're treated differently or all sorts of other ways. We're going to talk about that in the next segment.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, it's huge. But so let's talk about the vulnerability.
Right. I was just going to say, yes.
Emotional needs that haven't been met. Needing connection and community. Yeah. You needed a connection to your mother. You needed to feel secure in your family, but you never did.
I never did.
And it made you terribly vulnerable to all sorts of brainwashing.
Yes.
Although it's ironic that your sister seemed to be more susceptible to brainwashing type things than you
in the long run
because of her level of consciousness, I think.
Yeah.
The lack of consciousness.
Yes. And we're going to talk about that because she's not the only person that we have seen that this has happened to. Now, there's one more part about this, the susceptibility, control, and repetition of behavior and environment regarding information.
Yeah.
I mean, people don't even realize, well, I'm going to use one, and I think it's later on, but commercials on TV, they are a repetition of
Yes.
you need to buy this product. This will make you pretty. This is the best car to drive. All of these things.
I still remember the Oscar Mayer Wiener song. So that is big on my consciousness. I used to sing it all the time. We haven't eaten a hot dog ever.
Ever. No,
since we've been together. But I just think about that. Anyways.
Yes.
So
Jason, what is the summary of this segment?
Brainwashing is very common today and involves psychological manipulation to alter reality, utilizing isolation, information control, physical and mental weakening, repetition, threats, rewards, emotional vulnerability, unmet needs, and the need for connection made individuals susceptible to being brainwashed in subtle ways, even as adults.
Yes.
So it's the neediness. Some sort of neediness for something makes you vulnerable to this type of brainwashing.
Exactly. Or any brainwashing. And I just want to say that one of the very first things that happened when I first met Jason, he gave me a reading, which was great. We don't do that anymore because we found other ways to communicate with people. And but when he told me that I was needy, I remember it specifically. My mouth dropped open. Needy. How can I be needy? I take care of this and I do that. And I mean, that was what was going through in my mind. But when I was going home, I thought, oh, I'm needy here. I'm needy there. I'm needy for attention. I'm needy for approval. And so I recommend one of the things I really hope that people get out of this show is start looking at the places that you believe that you're needy, because when you do that and then remove that neediness, things will change. It's really, really incredible. With that said, in the next segment, we're going to talk about the unlikely and rarely considered places that brainwashing happens and how it affects you and how it may be affecting you right now. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about the unlikely and rarely considered places that brainwashing happens and how it affects you and how it may be affecting you right now. How does brainwashing happen in a family, Jason?
Most conditions for brainwashing happen in a family, especially in childhood, because of how that family is constructed culturally.
Yes,
that's
true.
What I mean, they're unspoken rules or spoken rules,
Correct.
all those things.
Correct.
There are a lot of examples. Sometimes unspoken can be stronger than spoken.
Oh, guaranteed.
But entitlement, making someone more entitled than the other. In your family, it was your brother who got the most of the attention.
That is correct.
Different treatment of boys and girls.
Yes,
oh my gosh, that's huge.
Exactly.
How you argue. You learn that in your family of origin. It's a form of brainwashing. You see how this is the way you're supposed to do it.
Yes.
And we've had so many couples come to us, people, whether they're both come to us or just one, and they're having problems in their marriage. It's basically, we used to call them the supposed to rules.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that you're supposed to do it this way. You're not supposed to blow up when things happen. You're supposed to talk it out, or you're supposed to just when you have a problem, you're not supposed to talk about it. You're just supposed to be silent about it and figure it out on your own.
Yes.
You're supposed to yell and scream and everybody fights and then everybody forgets it and everything's good.
Yeah.
These are just, you learn these in your family. It's a form of brainwashing, and it's a big deal. And if you don't understand all the brainwashed programs that you have, it can be really problematic when you start in a family.
Well, and here's one of the things that as you were talking, I grew up in the age of the women's movement, and I realized No, I was not the I'm sorry, I can't remember the name of them. The women that all wore white and
Suffragettes.
the suffragettes, yes. Although my grandmother knew them, let me say it that way. She was a young girl, but that's beside the point. The point that I'm getting at is that women were not supposed to, and there was a list that was longer than my arm can reach. Let me just say, you're not supposed to do this. You're not to talk about that. You're not to say or ask or all of these things. And the irony is that, believe it or not, some of them, they did have some validity to them. The things that, it doesn't matter about certain things, but there were things that you just were not supposed to talk about. And it was so, how do I put it, damaging to a woman that it would make you feel like you had no value
It's
at
a
all.
form of cultural brainwash.
There you go. That's exactly, that's right.
And
social.
It
brainwashing.
really affected our whole country.
Yes, it did.
But we don't think of brainwashing happening in a family, and that's the point for this part of the segment.
Yes.
Is that of all the brainwashing you ever had, most of it happens in your family, because it's not about trying to figure out who you are and help that come forward in the world.
Correct.
It's about, these are the way we do things here, and that's the way,
there's no questioning it.
And there's no question. Well, and sometimes it's, sometimes when there's chaos, like one parent is alcoholic or addicted,
true.
or not, never around.
Correct.
There's sort of an anarchy there that you get those rules, those unwritten rules from other people.
And the other thing is that when you get it from somebody else, you cannot take that rule or the understanding of that rule back to your family.
Yeah.
You have to be quiet about it.
Yes.
So
here's, I like to do the unlikely areas of brainwashing, and so that's why I'm bringing these up. But medical science, does brainwashing, and I'm going to just kind of stretch it a little bit and talk about that. We're going to do a show in the future about this, but it's how does it do it? Well, by structure and approach. It's not that there's a manipulation or they say things over and over again, but the structure of it says these are the ways you have to look at the world in order to see it clearly.
Well,
and as intuitives, we know that there's other ways and that are far more robust than the science, which is usually compartmentalized. They've already proven that our view of the atom that we had in high school. I remember, they had the periodic chart up on the wall. I remember high school's chemistry, and they had the periodic table, and this is what a certain molecules look like, and the electrons are very obedient, and they flow in their orbit the way they're supposed to, and then when they combine with other things, this is what they do. Well, and they've proven that that's not really true at all. But I've not seen any sort of new education
about it.
So it's and this idea that you can't know something unless it's proven. Well, you can't live your life that way. You have to know things, and often scientific arrogance is often backs their opinion. So if someone with a PhD has an opinion, it's got to be more important than someone who's not educated or doesn't have that credential.
That is correct.
The bias toward credentials blocks you when someone has them versus someone that doesn't. And I've experienced that in my life. When my daughter was 14, we stopped she had a form of cancer. We stopped the treatment prematurely because we were reading her body intelligence. And first of all, the doctor said she would die, but the truth is he had no data
that said she would.
It was a presumption based on all the other data that he had. He made that was his opinion based on,
An opinion is not fact.
And we had to go to court, and she actually, she didn't die. She's
actually doing really well.
She had two amazing kids. So it was an opinion that was obviously wrong.
Correct.
But it was a bias again, and we had to go to court and do the whole thing. It was a big deal.
Yes.
So There's another example.
Okay. Well, then let me ask it.
Yeah.
How does brainwashing happen at work?
This is a biggie. We don't think of where we work as a place of brainwashing.
Yeah.
But because we spend so much time there, we want to do well. It makes us vulnerable. We want to be respected and get promoted. It makes us vulnerable.
Yes.
I remember acting a certain way so I would look like I was busy. And I usually was pretty busy. I usually was working pretty hard.
Yes.
But I would do things like try and be there before my boss was there and try and leave after he left.
Correct.
That's really stressful on a family,
very much
on a personal life, that sort of thing. And it doesn't really mean anything.
Yes.
And I think they've proven that during the pandemic, but now this push to bring people back in because of the brainwashing of the management of big companies.
That's correct.
Says that if you can't see someone working,
then they must not be working.
Yes.
But they actually proved that the production,
the metrics are there.
The metrics are there. That's the way to say it. And it's really incredible. And we've talked to more than one person, I'll say it that way, who has had to go back to work, and meaning physically go back to the office. And the depression factor of it is unbelievable. And I just realized this, and the cost of the gas or the transportation expenses to get from home to work, it's quite a bit, and people didn't even realize it.
Well, and I know, and now that I remember this one when I was a single dad, but for families, it's that commute time is really toxic for the family.
Yes.
Because kids need time with their parents.
Yes.
But so
I hadn't even thought of that one. Yeah.
And fashion too is a big thing.
Well, because it costs money.
Well, and now there's a tendency toward casual.
Yes.
Now it's casual
true.
every day. Sometimes if you're in a startup, if you're a tech startup, you have to look sloppy all the time because it's cool, but which is okay too. It just
sloppy is fine, but being clean is the most important.
Well, yeah. See, that's your brainwashing.
It's true. But I'm sorry. I will jump in and say
the truth is that there's no absolute right way. But what happens is that whatever the boss believes is the best way is typically what you will start to believe.
And that's what's known as brainwashing.
Yes.
Right there. And it might just be subtle, everyone, but take a look at it.
If you're thinking to yourself, oh my gosh, I think I can think of all these places that I've been brainwashed.
Yes.
We've created a program, the Ecosystem Approach, to help you with that, to help more clarity in the world. And we're going to be telling you more about how to do that. But go to our website right now, the Ecosystem Approach, and sign up for our free section, or go to our YouTube channel, the Ecosystem Approach with Jason and Patricia Rohn, and subscribe to our channel, and you'll continue to get more information about how this affects you in your life. So with all of that said, in the next segment, we're going to talk.
We
didn't do the summary.
My apologies.
Yep.
Jason, what is the summary of this section?
Brainwashing can occur in unexpected places like families, workplaces, and scientific settings. It's influenced by behavior modeling, competitive environments, societal norms, impacting values, beliefs, and perceptions. We don't expect this type of brainwashing, and becomes invisible and usually completely unconscious. Becoming of this type of negative influence comes from the subtle energy approach. Being aware of this type of negative influence comes from the subtle energy approach of the ecosystem approach.
That is correct. Now, in the next segment, we're going to talk about how to overcome brainwashing and restore the human ability to have clarity about life and empower oneself. I love this part because I've been able to experience it, everyone, and I have to tell you something. It isn't that you run around with righteousness hanging on your shoulder. That isn't what this is. There is a knowing about who you are and how you fit into your life. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to talk about how to overcome brainwashing and restore the human ability to have clarity about life and empowerment for oneself. Stay with us. This is worthy.
Yes.
It is. What exactly is brainwashing, and how do you get rid of it, Jason?
Brainwashing is a negative energy. And I know a lot of people don't understand this energy speak, so to speak.
I get that.
But we live in this world where there's the tangible world that you can see and touch and feel and measure, that sort of thing. But there's this whole intangible world that is going on all around us that affects us all the time. And it's not a small thing.
No.
And as intuitives, we see the effects of all this, these subtle energies and the effects it has on all of us, individually and collectively all the time. It's a big deal.
Yes.
So when we say it's a negative energy, it can only be really eliminated by removing the negative energy. And this negative energy has the ability to eliminate your free will. That sounds really heavy, but it's true.
It does,
it can affect your ability to see life as it is objectively.
Mm-hmm.
When people go to therapy, whether they've come to us or anybody else, they're trying to see the world in a different way. They're trying to see the world in a way that they can make sense of.
Yes.
Or they can see what's going on so they can make changes and make it better.
Yes.
But the problem is that when you have these negative energies that are kind of clouding these programming energies,
hanging on you,
these brainwashed beliefs, and you can't see the world the way it is.
Right.
So we created the ecosystem approach, and it's designed to restore the natural, that's the key word, ability as a human to have free will and true self-determination.
You know what? A story just popped in. I remember when I very first met Jason and we started working together, which was amazing, but the subject of loyalty came up.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a really good example, because in my family, and I know we talked about family earlier, but I'm bringing it back for a moment. There was a rule, and it was spoken.
It was a brainwashed belief.
It was, and it was, you were not allowed to veer an nth from the loyalty to the family. And if you did, and this was an expression that was used, there would be hell to pay. And so first off, I was the wild child because nobody cared, that kind of thing. But as long as I remained loyal to the family, I could do anything I want. And yeah, there would be things, but the bottom line is this loyalty. And it was so dysfunctional. So, rules, would that be the right?
It was dysfunctional because for you,
yes,
being in your family meant that you were lesser than.
Yes.
You were the bad seed.
Yes.
You were the dark, the black sheep.
That's right.
So being loyal to the family for you meant something really, really negative.
That I was the maid, the slave, and I was not allowed to think or feel for myself when I was in their presence.
So, or express yourself or be who you are.
That is correct.
We would go to these family functions, and on the way back there'd be these big fights because I would dare to say, "Well, why are we doing this?" And
I'm laughing because, of course, he would ask that question.
It didn't make sense. Right. It's not benefiting you. Why you're doing it? And
correct.
And I was, at the time I was considered dog meat because I even posed the question. I even dared say.
But you see, also that was one of the rules of loyalty.
Yes,
you did not question.
So, and sometimes we still struggle with it. But
not often, but yeah.
The truth is it's an energy.
It is.
And we were able to remove it, clear it using the ecosystem approach.
Yes.
It's a big deal.
It is.
And when you get caught in that, it can be really, really toxic.
Yes.
And if you come from a family that has a lot of brainwashing that we talked about earlier.
Yes.
That's been negative on your behalf, and you go into you start a relationship with someone,
Yes.
as an adult. All this brainwashing is going to rush forward and affect you in ways that you don't even realize in the moment.
No,
It's
you
huge.
don't. You don't. And the most amazing thing of all is when you use the ecosystem approach, the bottom line is that then you get a chance to see, I'm going to use it simply, both sides of whatever the issue is. And you then can say, oh, maybe the way it was isn't really what's right or what I want today.
Well, so when we say it interferes with your free will,
very much.
You really can't have free will when you've been brainwashed with rules that are not in your favor.
That's
when
correct.
You're doing things that you wouldn't choose to do
for yourself.
If you had the clarity of who you really are, and that when we say true self-determination,
yes,
that's what we mean. It's a big deal.
Exactly. So next question. What happens when you remove the negative energy of brainwashing?
Oh my gosh, there's amazing things happen. It's truly like the skies can part. And it doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process.
True.
But you have clarity that allows you to see yourself and others with more insight.
True.
That in itself could be huge. We're constantly having more and more clarity about ourselves, each other, and ourselves.
It's wonderful.
That it feels amazing.
Yes.
You have clarity that allows you to see the world around you more objectively. People come to us because we have that clarity.
Yes.
It's like, well, the world does it this way, but I'm not sure that's so good for you.
Yes.
And that's not helping you. And people come to us and say, oh, I never thought of it that way.
Oh, and that might be one of the biggest things that I hear people say, I never thought of it that way.
Because when we've overcome this negative energy, we've cleared away this negative energy. So we're allowed to see things in ways that are different.
And the energy, and exactly. And the energy is all still there, but now we're helping somebody, and of course ourselves, choose a different perspective. It's really ironic.
Well, and here's the other thing.
Okay.
The clarity allows you to see the root cause of problems.
Yes.
And when you don't see the root cause, you don't fix them. You just spin. And I've seen people spin all their life, literally.
Yes.
My mother, who we took care of for 10 years, she just passed away. And if you've been following for a while, you know that what happened. She had dementia, but we saw her spin all the time.
Yes.
And she was heavily brainwashed, and
not just from her original family, but from Jason's dad.
Yes. And so that affected me, and I'm still trying to remove the effects of that kind of brainwashing.
You've done remarkable.
So we're going to keep going, but we want this for you. If you're listening right now, this is what we want for you. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that in just a minute.
Okay. So what is the arena of brainwashing that most people miss?
Self-help. Self-improvement, even new age energy practice.
Correct.
We're taught to believe that programming or brainwashing is to use techniques, affirmations, talking to someone to uncover insights, and then using goals and objectives paired with self-control and self-discipline to overcome negative behaviors and traits.
Yes.
We're saying no. This is completely, if you've been brainwashed that this is the way to do it, we're saying there's another way. And just listen here, because when you start to remove this negative energy, things happen.
Yes.
When you see this as an energy, and don't try to overcome it by figuring it out or talking to someone,
right,
or using self-control and self-discipline to overcome negative behaviors.
Yes.
See those negative behaviors as energies and remove them. And all of a sudden, oh my gosh, the world starts to open up.
It's awesome, everyone.
Brainwashing states that you have to force, trick, or manipulate yourself into these behaviors. Yes. And we've been calling that programming. It's also a form of brainwashing.
Exactly. So Jason, go ahead. This last part is really important, everyone.
We've seen, as intuitives with over 25 years of experience, that you must remove the negative energy. That's the key to all of it.
Exactly.
We don't think in terms of energy. There's been so many self-help programs that say, well, force yourself to do this or think this way or
Correct.
have a better attitude or all this other stuff, which is a form of force, trickery, or manipulation with yourself.
That is correct.
When you remove the negative energy, then you have the abilities to have free will and say, okay, what's really the best for me personally?
Correct.
And that may not be the same as it is for the person next to you.
Well, and I know I'm going to interrupt you in the middle of this and say, Jason, isn't that how we were originally designed?
Yes, this is natural to the way
Yes.
you're designed. That's what we call it the ecosystem approach. We weren't designed to to program ourselves,
No,
to
or
brainwash
be
ourselves,
programmed.
and then make ourselves do things.
Yes.
You know, talking, evaluating, and making yourself do things like smiling to alter your mood
Yes.
may not may make you feel better temporarily, but it doesn't change the energy.
Yes.
Here's the key point. If a critical mass of people could see and perceive energy, they would know that programming yourself, brainwashing yourself this way is not the answer.
Right.
The negative energy loves these techniques because it continues to exist without interference. That's so huge.
And I'm going to reinforce the last point. The bottom line is we were not designed this way. We were designed to be able to think for ourselves and see things from, and I'm going to use this expression, a 360 view, and then decide what's best for us.
It's not natural for human beings to say, okay, let's go to a browser or a
Correct.
search engine and find the answer.
Right.
We were designed to be out in the world and have to make decisions
instantaneous
about what's happening in our life by using our perceptions, our intuition. Oh my gosh.
Exactly. And the ecosystem approach does that.
Yeah. Yes.
So Jason, what is the summary?
Brainwashing is a negative energy that limits free will and can be eliminated using the ecosystem approach. It must be eliminated rather than using techniques like affirmations and self-control. This removal brings clarity, insight, and objectivity, enabling the identification of personal problems and issues at their root so you can remove them.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I love it. In the next segment, we're going to help you remove some of the negative energy that keeps you from the clarity about your own brainwashing.
Yes.
This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia, and you're listening to Transformation Talk Radio. This is the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason, and I'm Patricia. And in this segment, we're going to help you remove some negative energy that keeps you from the clarity about your own brainwashing. And by the way, this isn't where you get this clarity and then you just want to go kick your parents in the shins or whoever raised you or an old boss, things like that. That isn't what it is. You gain clarity and then
you decide
how you're going to be.
But you're empowered now because you have the clarity and you know what's what, and then you can decide how to deal with your parents. And the truth is, our parents are people, and they just were following the brainwashing that they had from their parents.
That is correct. And the brainwashing of the time.
Yeah. So what does that mean? Well, you figure it out, but once you have that clarity, you will be able to.
Yes, you will.
If you're thinking that this is for me, this is what I want, this is what I've been waiting for. We've made it really simple for you. Go to our website, theecosystemapproach.org. Sign up for a free section. You get our weekly newsletter that has the clearings that we're going to show you how to do in just a minute. And then go subscribe to our YouTube channel,
yes.
The Ecosystem Approach with Jason and Patricia Rohn. We have additional content there that we don't have other places. Coffee with Patricia. Oh my gosh, Coffee with Patricia is like a 3-minute clearing that you can see all these different ways to help you with your emotion that day.
Yeah.
Because we created Coffee with Patricia because people were asking Patricia specifically, "Oh, I wish I could talk to you every day. I wish I wish I could get that little pick me up and blah, blah,
Yes.
blah. And basically what we do is like a little clearing that you can
Really helps.
it's just one particular emotion at a time, and you can just take that, and
Exactly.
it's a great way to start your day.
And if you have suggestions about it,
Yep.
let us know.
Let us know in the comments.
Yes, we would love to hear. What would you like me to do a coffee with Patricia clearing about?
Yes.
It would be lovely. So, Jason, let's talk about how to do the clearing.
Okay,
itself.
it's very simple. Your posture doesn't matter. You can be sitting, standing, laying down. You can be standing on your head. You can be walking. We're often moving when we're clearing.
Yeah.
We like to do it on our morning walk with the dogs.
Yes.
We like to do it that way. And so when we say to eliminate, in your imagination, in your mind's eye, gather all those negative emotions that we're say to eliminate. Sometimes they're veils and illusions. Sometimes they're barriers.
That's right. You're going to
Gather them up and then blow them into the processor.
That's correct.
Nat's putting up the picture of the processor now, and it just goes in the top. It gets processed, comes out neutral. That processor doesn't exist except in our imagination and yours, and you can make it bigger, smaller, you can move it around.
That is, and carry it in your pocket. And when you're struggling with something, take the energy of whatever you're struggling with and throw it in there.
Into that processor.
Yes, your intention here matters. It's pretty cool. So,
you talk about activating life force.
And then I'm going to talk about activating life force after that. And the bottom line is that what we're trying to help you with here is make a difference in your life so you can make a difference in the life that you're living and the people that you're affecting every single day. And it's one of the most awesome things that I have ever encountered. And I've done a lot of programs and all kinds of things. And I can't do my life without this anymore. It's the way it is. So with that said, Jason,
here we go.
You ready?
Yep.
All right.
I direct all my resources in all dimensions to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see any situation in my life where I've been programmed or brainwashed.
Yes.
Start thinking about those situations now.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And throw that into the processor. Remember, you want to use the processor is really important. You want to use that processor because other programs teach, you just throw it, you just get rid of it. Don't let it be on you. Well, the problem is it doesn't change the energy, and either you or somebody else is going to get up and walk into that.
It's sort of like how I cleaned house when I was in college.
Yeah, same.
I would put all the crap in the closet, so you couldn't see it.
Yes.
But that doesn't work. So what we want to do is, if I had a processor in college, something in real,
yes,
it would take all my stuff and fold out my clothes.
There you go. All that sort of thing. There is that. So, and let's continue on. Follow along, and I'm going to shorten up the statement just a little tiny bit. It goes, and to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that isolation, repetition, threats, rewards, and manipulation, all or any can contribute to brainwashing and programming. Nice and easy. You're going to start at the tips of your toes. You're going to pick it up, and you're going to throw it away. By the way, I see, doesn't happen with everyone, but I see that negative energy, brainwashing, programming, moves easier to the left than it does to the right. And so I stick with that because I want this to be as easy as it can be.
Yes.
Okay, one more time. Take a breath and throw it away. Jason?
Here's a biggie. The veils and illusions so I can see that when I have emotional needs that are not being met, I become vulnerable to all types of brainwashing.
Yes.
And influence.
Exactly.
And programming.
Yes.
Take a breath.
And throw it away. Next one, the barriers, and to eliminate the barriers so I can see that the ecosystem approach was designed to help me remove my toxic emotional needs and give me clarity when I have been or will be brainwashed. Take a breath and throw it away.
And to eliminate the veils and illusions so I can see that brainwashing can happen in places I don't expect, like in science,
yes,
my family, at work, even with self-help programs and new age programs.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Nice and easy. Take a breath and blow it out. One more time. Just take one more breath. All right. Let's activate some life force. Life force is the most positive energy that we have access to right now. And what this life force energy does, it enables us to connect with our own power that we were given, but has layers and layers and layers of stuff that we don't need on it. Use the ecosystem approach to get rid of those layers of stuff, but also activate life force just like this. I direct all my resources in all dimensions to activate life force energy so I can have hope, to have clarity like never before by removing all the brainwashing I've been subject to all of my life. Nice and easy. You're going to pull this in through the top of your head. Take a breath. And now you're going to blow out any negative energy about brainwashing that you've been subject to all of your life. Jason?
So are you ready? Are you listening to this right now and thinking, oh my gosh, it's time for me to get rid of my brainwashing? You know, maybe you're unhappy. Maybe you've been depressed. Maybe you've been feeling pain. Maybe you're in a difficult relationship. Maybe you're struggling with a job situation. It doesn't matter what it is. Chances are the root cause is you'll be able to see when you remove the negative energy.
And then you can remove that.
Yes. So we've made it easy for you.
Yes,
We've created this website that has all sorts of content. It's free.
Mm-hmm.
Go there, sign up for our free section. Mm-hmm. All that we ask for is your email address. That's all we ask for. We're not going to spam you. We're not going to send you emails, but we will send you every other week a newsletter based on the program.
Yes.
And that's where we have all the clearings written out.
Yes.
And it'll get you started. It'll get you started on what to clear and how to clear and that sort of thing. The picture of the processor is in that newsletter.
Yes.
The wording that we just said about the clearing statement is in that newsletter. And just a little blurb about this, this particular topic or whatever topic we're talking about in that.
So, and I just want to bring it up. We've gone to every 2 weeks that we're doing our shows live. But I want you, so we can have more time to prepare and do the shows better. But I want you to realize that listen next week at the same time, and you can hear the show again and maybe hear something you didn't hear this time that will help you in your journey in life.
Exactly. So if now's the time, go subscribe to our channel, our YouTube channel, The Ecosystem Approach with Jason and Patricia Rohn.
Mm-hmm.
It's there. If you subscribe, there's Coffee with Patricia that we mentioned earlier. Mm-hmm. There's the sneak peek that we do for our shows that you won't find any place else. And we're going to be adding more and more content there
as well.
So do that.
Yes.
And while you're there, please like us. While you watch the show, we appreciate that too.
Yes. And we're here every week, be either recorded or live, 1 p.m. on Mondays and 4 p.m. Eastern time. This is Transformation Talk Radio, and you're listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia.
We made this for you. We made the Ecosystem Approach for you personally, so that you could have a different way. If you've done all the self-help like I have, you've all done all the self-improvement, self-help. You say, I want to try a different way of doing this. I want to kind of branch out and do something different, or just because you know that what you've been doing isn't cutting it.
Yeah. And
now's the time to try this.
Right.
So go to our website, go to our YouTube channel, subscribe, sign in, sign up, so I have to say that living like an ecosystem is the key to a better life for you.
Thank you for listening to the Ecosystem Approach Show with Jason and Patricia. I'm Patricia. Tune in every week as we discuss practical ways to apply the ecosystem approach and develop your potential to live your life on your terms. For more information, visit our website at theecosystemapproach.org.